Welcome to my new series, Top 5 List. The point is to help you figure out which ships are great for what you want to do in the game. We'll mostly talk about ships that are currently in game. If we do talk about a ship that is still in concept, just be aware that is theory crafting. And remember, digital ships aren't imaginary, digital ships are imagine-necessary. Before we start, I am giving away an account with an Avenger Titan with a Stella Fortuna weapon. I'm also giving away a 400 eye skin and a 600 eye skin for a total of not one, not two, but 3 prizes. To enter the contest, make sure you're subscribed to Billionaire Ninjas, leave a comment on at least one video, and like or dislike this video. When you win, I will verify through social media, so make sure you go and follow Billionaire Ninjas page at Ninjas Leap on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. The 3 winners for each contest will be announced at the end of March 2024 and will have 2 weeks to claim the prize. The first person to verify gets to choose the best prize, so although you have 2 weeks, you'll want to reach out fast. So make sure you're watching every video as soon as possible to be the first to grab the grand prize. Today, our focus is the top 5 ships in the game for fleet support. Anytime we do a ship list like this, there will surely be people who disagree or have a different list. So make sure you leave your top 5 list in the comments below so people can see what your list looks like, because this is why we do these things. Not to be the definitive voice on the issue, but to start a conversation. We won't fully review these ships, just a few notes about why we like them. You'll have to check out our Review Every Ship by CitizenCon 2024 playlist if you want a more in-depth look at these ships. Also, this list is as of 3.22.1. I'll try to do a new one for each patch if the list changes. So this one is really going to be based on the best fleet support ships, mostly focused on general fleet support, excluding most industry ships and cargo ships because we did lists for those already. However, there might be a few that are so great at multi-role, they make both lists. But really, we just wanted to focus on how amazing these ships are for pretty much any fleet regardless of its purpose. Stay tuned for a few more lists, including our best fleet defense and best explorer lists. We'll also be doing a channel update and revealing our contest winners March 31st, which should be the day this video releases. Let's get started with number 5. The Anvil Terapin at $220. The toughest scout ship in the game. It's finally time for the turtle's moment in the sun. Except, yeah, it's still a bit overpriced, but this ship is underrated for what it's really good at: exploring for a fleet and scouting for a fleet. This ship can go anywhere in the verse, stay there for weeks, and then come back and report to a fleet. If you know good fleet strategy, you know every fleet needs a scout. This one comes with an advanced long-range radar suite and oversized shield, some of the best hull HP in the entire game. I would put ballistics on its little pea shooters, push all power to engines and shields, and then go recon like only the turtle can. There are stealth options, but they lack the living quarters, so their ability to do stakeouts is limited. Then there are ships with better radars, but they're either too big to be a scout, or they too lack the stakeout ability. So the little turtle that could is actually one of the greatest fleet support ships you can get, because it can fit in that hangar of yours. After the Terrapin, we move to number 4. The Anvil Crucible at $350. Stop me if you've seen this one before. If you've been watching my list, then you have seen this one before. The Crucible is one of the more underrated ships in the game. Repairing ships is going to be very important in a game where a lot of space combat takes place. Mind you, this thing can also tow up to medium-sized ships, so it's not only for repair. But what fleet won't get into at least a little trouble with hull damage and parts maintenance? The mining crew that got a little too close to the rocks, the salvage crew that forgot to drain all the fuel out of the wreck before they shot a beam directly at the gas tank, and of course, the massive fleet that just took out an Idris or a Javelin and won. That last one will definitely be paying the Crucible top dollar.
Did you do it?
Yes.
What did it cost?
Everything.
But why pay someone else when you know that damage is coming? And you can just put one in the fleet. And at $350, this ship is an absolute steal. The only reason I don't recommend the Vulcan more at $200 is because this one is so cheap still. But I guarantee you the Crucible will not stay $350 for much longer. On to the next one, number 3. The RSI Apollo, Medevac, and Triage at $275 and $250 respectively. Medical gameplay, the ship for the healer in all of us. We all know the standard RPG trope of the tank, the DPS, the controller, and the healer. So we can all easily agree the mobile health clinic is necessary. Well, the Apollo gives you a few choices for the latter: the tanky healer or the speedy healer. The Medevac can be able to take a few more hits and deal a bit of damage while it's extracting the wounded, but the Triage will get in and get out a lot faster. Pick your poison and the Apollo will give you the antidote. I think medical gameplay might end up being very fun to play in Star Citizen. We already know it's going to advance way more than sitting in a bed and auto healing. There will be surgery, there will be prosthetics, there will be treating diseases and weather-related injuries. The Apollo is the largest dedicated medical ship announced so far, so it should be the best at everything it does, with maybe one exception we'll talk about later. There are medical drones in both variants to bring patients to the ship, and they keep them stabilized as they bring them to the ship. When you get injured patients back to the ship, the medical portion is modular, so you can choose the type of beds you want, from the most intense healing at Tier 1 to the minor healing of the Tier 3 beds, and mix and match with only a few limitations. This is a top tier medical ship for fleet support. Then we have number 2. The RSI Galaxy at $380. Up to this point, you might agree with this list, but this is where a bunch of you might get off the boat. But let me explain before you dive into the water. Modularity is why this ship is number 2, but not just general modularity. The RSI Galaxy fits 3 separate roles: cargo holding, 512 SCU plus an Ursa-sized vehicle, a med bay that has 6 med beds in it with at least 1 from each tier, and a refinery ship that is a step above the Expanse that can also sell whatever it refines and allows it to act as a true middleman for ships that deal with raw materials. I can also imagine RMC being able to be refined into a higher quality type of RMC to use in repairing ships. But I digress. Back to the use of the Galaxy. I put it at number 2 because it can be whatever your fleet needs it to be, and that is what fleet support is all about. What do I need for the mission I'm on now? If you run an industry fleet, it can be your refinery or your cargo drop-off. If you run anything related to combat, it can be your small hospital. Now, if you only need a hospital, get the Apollo. If you only need a cargo ship, get the Caterpillar. If you only need a refinery, you can get an Expanse. Dedicated ships will always be better at their dedicated role. But the beauty of living in the Galaxy is it can be whatever you need it to be without needing 3 different ships. Oh, and actually, it has 4 capabilities. Oh, I forgot to mention that. It can also build large structures as a construction ship. But I didn't include that because it's not really for fleet support, but yet another thing the Galaxy can do. I do have to note, in order to do those things, it is an added cost on top of that $380 price. But again, one ship that can do all of those things versus the cost of getting the specific ship for each one of those roles. You're still going to save the money. Before I go to my number 1, let me go to an honorable mention. You know I have to do my honorable mention. Yep, the Endeavor, the MISC Endeavor at $350. Not a whole lot of people truly understand the MISC Endeavor. It's a bit of a mystery, and perhaps the biggest mystery in all of Star Citizen, as far as ships at least. Not because we don't know what it will do, but there are just so many questions about how well it will do those things and how big it will be and so on and so forth. Now, I can't explain everything this can do in detail because it would take a massive amount of time and this video would be over an hour. But it can explore, it can do science, it can be a full hospital. It's the only announced agriculture ship. It's got a super collider for overclocking parts. It's the only ship with that and the only ship with a telescope, meaning instead of needing to explore, it can just look at what is out there, along with a research lab, extra fuel, extra crew capacity, and extra landing pads. I can't imagine a fleet that can't use at least one of these. CIG always said there is no do-everything ship, but they came really close with this one. The only reason I don't include it in this list is because there are too many unanswered questions, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. So one of the things that I like to mention about this ship, the Endeavor, and the Galaxy, yes, you can pay extra money outside the game to purchase all of the pieces that are required to do the things I'm saying. But my guess is in-game, those parts for these ships are going to be very, very well priced. So I wouldn't purchase those parts of the ship in-game. I would purchase the base ship outside of the game, and then I would purchase the parts to the ship in the game. Now, if this is your only ship and you know this is going to be your only ship, that might be the only time it's worth purchasing all the pieces outside the game. But outside of that, they are definitely purchasing game. But purchase that base ship and you will have something that's truly special. Onward to number 1, the Anvil Liberator. It surprised me a little bit, but let's just cut straight to it. It carries 400 SCU of cargo, 2 vehicles, 3 spaceships, and seats 16 people in drop seats, all at the same time. It has a tractor beam for loading both cargo and ships. It has good enough weaponry to defend itself, coming stock with mixed energy and ballistic weapons and a decent missile loadout. It only requires 2 crew to run because it has automated point defense turrets and only has 1 turret needing to be manned. It will go the furthest of all the ships in the game, at least in the top 5. It will be heavily shielded, heavily armored. I mean, I could go on, but what more do you need? It can do almost everything a support ship needs to be able to do except medical. But wait, you can land a medical ship in it or on it. So wait, medical covered, cargo covered, vehicle transport covered, snub ship, fighter transport covered, people transport covered, and then whatever else you want to do, it'll cover the rest. If you land and keep a Vulcan on this thing, all of a sudden it's refueling, rearming, repairing, on top of all of the other things it can do. It becomes a sustainable, continuous carrier operation. You can kit this ship out for whatever you need in your fleet. I don't know how any ship could be more useful for a fleet. I thought maybe the Kraken, but that isn't really a support ship, is it? I suppose it could be, but that seems more like a flagship for an org than a ship supporting another flagship. So unless you own a Javelin, the Kraken isn't really clicking to me as a support ship. So you Javelin owners, I guess you could say the Kraken is your number 1. But I digress. That's for a different video, and I think the Kraken should be for a different video as well. To me, the Liberator right now is the ultimate fleet support ship. Put that Vulture on it for your salvage operation. Put that Prospector on it for your mining operation. Put that Vulcan on it if you need a full carrier support ship. But right now, I think it's the best you can get for fleet support. We'll see if it stays that way when it releases. So there you have it, our top 5 fleet support ships to purchase as of 3.22.1. Let us know your top 5 in the comments and stay tuned for the top 5 exploration ships. We suggest renting ships and trying them out for yourself before you make a decision. It's your money after all. But no matter what ship you get, I want to be clear. No ship will be a perfect ship. You'll always have to get the right ship for the right job, and everything will be pushed to be balanced. So it's more important to pick a ship that you like, you don't mind flying, and can have the most fun with. If you don't like the gameplay of the ship, you won't have any fun. And that's the true point of the game, right? All right, that's it for this one. Thanks for spending your time with us. See you in the next one. Peace.